And I want to follow up, though, John Hyam, with what Willie said. Again, all eyes are on the DA in Manhattan, are on Donald Trump. I get it. Yeah. But something much bigger happened last night in Wisconsin. And it's part of a trend. And it is a trend that is growing. I think we're going to find the overturning of Roe v. Wade to be a singular moment in 21st century politics, in that it has shifted the dynamic in a dramatic way from Kansas to Wisconsin to Michigan to you name it. But just think about this. Donald Trump won in 2016 because he was able to crack that blue wall that Democrats had in the Electoral College in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And a lot of people were considering that to be white working class paradise for Republican candidates. They were going to keep winning up there. But since Roe has been overturned, think about it. Michigan, Democrats took over the entire state. They took over the entire state. Not even close. Listen, I talked to Democrats a month beforehand. They were hoping they could pick up a couple of seats here, a couple of seats there in Michigan. I said, well, what about Pennsylvania? We have no chance of winning any legislature, the assembly or anything in Pennsylvania. They made massive gains. They won one of the chambers. They won the governorship there. They won the governorship in Michigan. They won the governorship in Wisconsin. And now they have done what I think, out of all of those things, is the most important thing for looking through American democracy and actual the legitimacy of democratic elections. They've taken back the Supreme Court there that has that's approved the most gerrymandered districts in America, and because of it, we can be sure that it's going to be a lot harder to steal elections in Wisconsin.
Look, if you to step back to what you were talking about a second ago, and obviously yesterday in the courtroom. And those findings of the facts that the DA laid out, it was like a tour back to the 2016 election and sort of talking about the secret history of what most people did not know were going on, the deals between Pecker and Trump and suppressing stories and all that stuff. So 2016 is very much on all of our minds right now, I think. And your point is the right point here. It's, the blue wall crumbled. Donald Trump knocked it down in that cycle, largely because of his strength with rural and white working class voters in those kind of paradigmatic states, with the three you mentioned, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And what's happened since then has been gradually Democrats finding a way back towards competitiveness in those places. Obviously, Joe Biden winning all three of those states in 2020 is what made him president, along with the narrow victories that he had in Georgia and Arizona. And then this thing that you're pointing to is really staggering, right? And you can't say it enough. Gretchen Whitmer was supposed to be toast in Michigan a year out. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and she not only got reelected, but all three of those women at the Attorney General, Secretary of State's level, they all got elected, and they all campaigned on almost nothing but abortion rights. They put abortion rights at the center of the Michigan race in 2022, made it a referendum essentially on what the court had done. And Michigan is now, under total Democratic control in a way it hasn't been really ever in modern history. Pennsylvania is another example, not just at the governor's level. Why did John Fetterman win that race? Well, there are a lot of things wrong with Dr. Oz, and there are a lot of problems at the Senate level. But again, the white working class vote that went for John Fetterman. Why? Part of the reason this white working class vote, it turns out, is very animated by the issue of abortion in a way that some people would have said a few years ago, well, they're all economic voters, or they're culture voters and they're culturally conservative. It turned out they're maybe culturally conservative about like woke language, but they're not culturally conservative when it comes to abortion rights for their daughters. And that's what the story of the Wisconsin election last night too. If the blue wall
is rebuilt now and potentially stronger in some ways because of things that Trump has done, the way the Republican Party has drifted, the election denial, all of that. And then the bulwark against Republicans in those states is going to turn out to be the question, the long-running question of abortion rights. Man, woe betide the Republican presidential nominee, whether it's Donald Trump or anyone else, if that's going to be the case where Democrats are going to dominate those 3 states, because that has also implications around the country. If you're strong in those 3 states, you're going to be strong in a lot of swing states.